Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
So you didn't finish your silo, did you?
No, we stopped at the end of the last episode when I had to redo the roof, remember?
That's right.
It was too squished.
So let me tell you about my tenants. So I inherited the two houses that were my aunt and uncle's. Me and my cousins inherited them together or whatever. I've told you about that, right?
Right. I didn't realize they had tenants though.
Yeah. So all right. Let me tell you about the guy that lives in. It's referred to as Mama's house because my grandmother's mother and father built it. It was, I think, it was the first house that was on this road. So it's always been called Mama's house as far as my whole life. But whenever Mama died, the woman I never knew her, is great grandma basically. Or I guess she should just be great grandma, right? Yeah, just great grandma.
Your mom's?
No, my grandmother's mom.
Yeah. So just great grandma.
But yeah, no, I never met her. But anyways, whenever she died, my aunt and uncle bought the place. And they've been renting it for as long as I've ever known. Like I had a friend that I went to school with that lived there at one point. So whenever Ben passed away, that was my uncle that had leukemia and took care of whatever. Whenever he passed away, one of the things he told me before he passed was to make sure that old boy pays the rent because he's had to chase him for it before. So I would ask my aunt from time to time, is he paying the rent? And she always said he was. And then whenever she passed away, when we were going through the estate and going through everything, he hadn't paid rent in forever. He owed $14,000 in back rent.
$14,000.
Yeah. And there was just this notebook, where she kept the ledger. And it was just filled mostly with these sob story letters. Oh, my back's out and I can't pay the rent this month, or, this, that, or the other. Just constantly, just some one thing or the other, can't pay the rent. And I was just like, I was actually, first off, I was upset because I wish she had just told me, because I would have gone over there and made sure, either pay the rent or get the fuck out. I mean, because, I don't know, I felt bad because my uncle would basically, that's like the one thing he's like, he left me two things to make sure I took care of. Make sure that something happens with his truck so Ruby doesn't have a hard time selling it, and make sure the dude pays the rent. And so I managed one of those two things. Anyways, so whenever we found all this out, I was like, well, let's just get rid of him, evict immediately. But they didn't want to, and like I said, I didn't inherit this place by myself. So the cousins were just like, it's gonna be such a pain to, find someone else right away. Right now, we got all those other things on our plate, and who knows what state the house in. I was like, well, that's the other thing. I want to go in there right now and let's see what's what. Let's inspect and whatever. And we never really did any of that. Like they just didn't want to mess with it. And so I was like, all right, whatever, this is fine. If he'll pay the rent, I'll agree with you guys. If he'll pay the rent, then I guess he can stay. And so that's what ended up happening. They let him stay. So I guess that's my first thing. What would you have let somebody just to stay at that point?
So what is this agreement to pay the rent though? He said I'll pay the rent, or he paid the $14,000.
No, he did not pay the back rent. Did not pay the back rent. And see, so at this point, the estate is still open. Like I've learned a lot about how all this stuff works, even some today when I went and saw a lawyer. But the estate's still open, and there's managers of the estate that basically close out any debt that they have, the deceased, and also to collect any debt that anyone owes the deceased or the estate. So there's a period for that, and it's like 90 days. You have to run a thing in the paper saying these people are dead. If you have a claim on them, contact us in this time period. If you don't, then you're out of luck. But it goes the other way too. If there's any claims on debt, then you need to call it in. So what they told him was that if he ever missed a payment, that we would evict him and go for all the back stuff. And I think they actually thought that we could do that, but you definitely can't. After that 90 days, then you can't come back and be like, all right, well now we want 14,000 as well, and you also got to get out. But that's what we told him, is that if you miss a payment, even by a day, there's a $10 late fee, and if we have to evict you, we're going to come after the 14,000.
So wait, you can't come after that just because you've told him that you're forgiving it for now? That's like
no, it's just too much time has passed now. It's been a year since she died.
Okay. I thought at first you were saying that it's a year since, or 90 days since he paid rent. Like if you don't catch him in that 90 days, and it's just like scot free.
No,
okay.
Yeah. No, it's just you got 90 days to collect debt that's owed to the estate, basically, and they didn't, and that they didn't. He couldn't have paid it anyways. You could have asked him for $1 million, and you got just that as easy as you could have got 14,000. So it really was mute. Either way, you're not going to get the money. But so he agreed that he wouldn't miss any payments. He'd always be on time, and we told him if you miss payment, then it's $10 late fee, even by a day, which apparently you can't. You gotta wait 5 days, but we didn't tell him that. So, but that's what you're supposed to do in North Carolina, is at least wait 5 days. But anyways, so every time it comes time to pay, he's got some sob story again. And I've been just trumpeting from the beginning. Let's just get rid of him. Like, we can find another tenant. There's people wanting to rent. It's not impossible. And yeah, I mean, and his sob story, and that's the thing, he's paid every month. He's just, every month there's this, he'll come to pay and he'll be like, one time the roof had trouble and I'm the one that filled out all the insurance paperwork, and then after it got fixed, it ended up costing less than what the insurance claim was. So I feel like since I did all the paperwork, I'm the one that should have got that extra money. And it's like, what the fuck are you even talking about right now? And like one time he came back because my aunt or my cousin is the one. She's my mom's age, just to make sure it's clear how old these people are and stuff. I guess it really matters. But my cousin, who's literally the same age as my mom, she's the manager of all this, so she takes care of everything. And she takes 10% off the top as her management fee, which to me seems fair because I ain't got to worry with none of this. So good to go. And that said, I've spent the last 2 days dealing with all of this. So
where's your management fee?
Right. Yeah, no, I probably should ask. So we're going to split the management this month. I'm not really worried about it. It's like, it's not, I mean, you can't, like where I live, you can't, the rent's like $550 a month. Right. So it's not even like, it doesn't even matter basically. Because I live somewhere where houses are basically free. Anyways, so I don't even remember what the hell I was saying. Or I don't know where I was at in this story.
Like,
yeah, one month he said that he worked on some car mine. He works on cars occasionally. That's what he does for a living. And he claimed he worked on some car mine. This is like complete fabrication. I didn't hear about it till a month had passed, so I didn't even confront him about it. But and I never paid him apparently, and he should get a discount on his rent for the money I owe him. And I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
So I guess it's interesting because when dealing with tenants, like guy who's been there for a long time. So we have we have our tenant downstairs. You know her, the chick with the condom dude. And she just changed jobs relatively recently, and she was actually 2.5 months behind on rent at one point. And wow.
That's the problem with being friends with your tenant, I think.
Well, but I think so yes, it could have been a problem. She's caught up now. Like she got all caught up when she started, getting, because she told us it could have been a fabrication, but we gave her the benefit of the doubt because we've grown to know her throughout the years and become friends with her and things like that. But she had a rapport with us that we knew she was good for the money up until like she wasn't those times. But that's that shit can happen, and that's why we were able to say, okay, this is we can deal with this, try to work this out, see if anything happens, or see if we have to do anything like further later on.
Right.
But you had completely the opposite with this person.
Right. No, I mean, there was no reason for him to stay, in my opinion. I think everyone sees the hindsight of it all now. They're like, yeah, we should have evicted him. Why didn't we evict him? And I'm like, yeah, why didn't we evict him? Because I mean, I haven't even told you what's happened yet. Like, I haven't even gotten to the actual story. I've just told you the backstory of dude.
Okay. Go on.
I know. I'm just sitting here rambling for like, that's 9 minutes of me talking. And I ain't even got to the story yet. So the other day I wasn't around when any of this went down, so I didn't find out about it until it was over. He was late on his rent it was on Easter, and so the rent was due on Easter because that's the first. And he called and basically said, I'm spending time with my family, I'm not going to come by today, I'll pay you another day. And I probably would have let him slide on this. This is probably the one time I would have showed a little bit of sympathy. I'm gonna be honest. But again, I'm not the manager, so I'm not in charge of any of this. So my cousin took care of it all, and she's like, "All right, well, you just pay that late fee tomorrow, then." And so that's what happened. He comes by on the 2nd to pay, and she's like, "Oh, you forgot the late fee," and he got real.
So now
real
she's
upset.
all on board with getting him the hell out, and she's doing it like basically any way she can.
Well, no, that wasn't what her thought was, but it's just this is how it all unraveled. And he went into his car, got the late fee, and threw it on the floor in her carport and left. And so a day later, he ran over the septic tank at the house and busted the lid on the septic tank, and he told her about it. So she called someone and had a septic tank company come out and fix the lid on the septic tank. And when they did, there was a hole in the ground basically, and they needed to cover it up until they come back and fill in the hole. And there was this old board leaning against a woodshed back there, and so they'd use that to cover up the hole for the time being. So he calls Kathy and's like, "Someone's moved my board."
Someone's moved my board. Who moves my board?
Yes, who moves the board?
Who touched my board?
So she went over there to move the board back to where it was before. And I saw this board today. It's just a piece of plywood that's literally falling apart. Anyways, I don't know. It just sits there against the shed. It's not holding anything up. It's not doing anything but rotten.
It's his board.
It's his board.
How dare you?
And so she went over there with her dad, and they put his board back, and then but her dad brought a bunch of lumber over to cover this hole over for a period of time. And while they were there, they saw just what a mess he's got in the backyard. We've seen there's like 4 cars, because like I said, he works on cars sometimes, but there's like 4 cars that have been there, broke down for a while. They're not plated or insured or any of that. And then she saw a bunch of pans of oil where he changed oil back there and just left the pans on the ground with oil in them and stuff. And so she took pictures of all that and wrote up a thing that said, there's a mess behind the house that's unacceptable, and you got 30 days to get it all cleaned up. Any cars that are uninsured and whatnot need to be, dealt with, hauled away, whatever. And she went over to the house to give it to him, but he wasn't there. And so she went up to the store down the road, and he happened to be sitting out there in the parking lot. So she's like, "Okay, I'll just give it to him here." So she gets out of the car to give it to him, and she hands it to him, and then she gets back in her car. And at that point, he gets out of his car and just loses his shit. Like, "You fucking bitch! How fucking dare you!" And her son lives next door in the other house. We're renting him the place next door, basically. He's like, "Your fucking son doesn't mow his grass, and I'll see you in hell," and just wouldn't let her leave or anything. She ended up finally getting out of her car and going into the store and being like, "You probably have to call somebody because this man has lost his mind." And finally, he let her leave. And so she went home and just wrote up an eviction notice and went and taped on his door, which technically she didn't consult any of us about any of this. So, but I'd have been on board either way. This is not a big deal to me, but she decided on her own it's eviction time. So she went and put the eviction notice on the door. And he told her then that if she steps foot on the property, you'll be sorry next time you step foot on my property, is what he told her.
You'll be sorry.
Yeah, which the magistrate whatever was like, "Well, that's not a specific thing. He could just be baking you a cake and you'll be sorry about it."
He could just be baking you a cake. You could slip and fall.
Yeah, unless someone, I guess, specifically says what they're gonna do to you, it's not a threat. You're just gonna be sad if you do it, basically.
But don't make me sorry, sir.
Yeah. Oh, we'll be sorry.
I won't be sorry. That's the last of all the things to be. That's the last
one. So here's where the story gets stupid. Her son and her husband.
Okay. Go on.
Son and her husband get involved at this point. And they're very bullheaded about this whole situation, which, if somebody talked to my mom like that or my wife like that, I'd be upset too. But so her husband goes looking him, and he couldn't find him anywhere. And he told the lady at the store that if she sees him, to let him know he's looking for him.
No problem.
Yeah. I mean, this is how fucking backwoods I live. It's like, you know, I'm putting up a wanted sign at the damn store, you know, basically. Here's the poster. You see him, let him know. So he gets told at the store he's being looked for. And so he calls up the husband. And I guess the husband cusses him out. You know, don't talk to my wife like this, you fat piece of shit. He weighs like 400 pounds or something. And the renter guy is like, why don't you come over here and say that to my face? Because that's what people do, apparently. And so husband's like, all right, I will. And we live like 2 minutes down the road. So I think he thought, you know, all right, well, he's going to be here in 2 minutes. But they were in town eating dinner. And so they get there about 20 minutes later, and the police are sitting in the driveway. So I think probably what happened is he tells them to bring it on, you know, let's fight. And then he called the police, expecting the police to show up about the time that things were getting heated. But the police beat them there, so they didn't go in or anything like that. So then today went and saw a lawyer that specializes in you know, renter rights, so because he doesn't have a lease, it's just a month-to-month thing. And apparently the eviction notice she wrote up wasn't good enough, because she said we request that you leave, not you must leave.
You have been evicted.
Well, it did say your eviction is you know, effective, and you've been given 30 days to vacate the premises, and we request that within 30 days, you know, on or before these 30 days that you do so. But apparently the word request is not a good word for this, because it's kind of like, you know, the way the lawyer put it. Yeah, the way the lawyer's like, well, if you request to give me if I request you to give me a glass of water, I don't have to actually do it.
I request that you will be sorry.
Yeah. You know, you're not symmetrical with your build of this.
I know. Shh.
Okay.
Do you know how to fix it though? Like if I knew how to fix it, I would, but I don't.
Well, you just got to place the blocks the same on all the sides.
Well, please, Guude, tell me what symmetrical means. Well, by that logic, sir, I am symmetrical.
How?
If you go draw a line right where I'm standing, straight down that way, it is symmetrical.
I think what you should do is do it in stages. Like you place 3 blocks over here, go to the other side, place 3 blocks, the same.
The only thing that's not symmetrical is this part of it here is 3 blocks wide, and that part's 3 blocks wide, and this side it's only 2 blocks wide on these edges.
Oh, so it is the same. Okay, it just doesn't look that way.
Like, cut a line right here. It should be. I think. Oh, you know what? Part of it is wrong over there, though. Yeah, they're actually that section.
Yeah, because like it's like 2 blocks, and then there's just this one block
right here is wrong.
Yeah,
I don't know how to fix it.
So yeah, I spent an hour in a guy's office today learning all about how to evict someone and all the rights you have as a renter and all this.
So the interesting thing is DC is the most renter friendly, like, obviously not a state because it's not a state, but district in the nation. There are.
Is it the only district? Are there other districts?
I mean, I don't know what you call like the American Samoas and stuff. They don't really. I don't think they call them districts, but they're, you know, American territories or whatever. So I don't know if DC falls under that same like category, or does district give it some other connotation? Like I honestly don't know the answer of why it's a district and what makes it a district versus a state versus an American, you know, territory.
That's the other thing I've never really questioned, but it's the District of Columbia. What does that mean?
Where the district?
Of Columbia.
Of Columbia, yep.
Where the fuck is Columbia?
The Colombians.
Right. That's another country, right? What? Wait, hold on. What is the District of Columbia? What does that mean?
I don't know. It's the sea in DC.
Yeah, but where is Columbia?
In the Columbines?
No, this is, I mean, for real, though. What does that mean?
It's like mind blown.
I don't know what it means. I really don't.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't,
because it feels like Columbia needs to be a place if that's the district of it. But there's no place nearby that's named Columbia.
Yeah, I have no idea where the District of Columbia like came from. I'm sure you could like Wikipedia it or something, and it would give you a very interesting story of how it came to be or whatnot, but I've never bothered to look it up. I just know it's like very annoying.
We're both idiots. Sorry.
Yep. I know it's very annoying that, you know, we're the most, we're considered more state-like than, you know, most of the American territories for one reason or another. I don't know the answer to why that is, but it's really annoying because we are considered that, yet we still don't have, you know, congressmen, you know, senators, representation. You know,
I mean, is it set up that way on purpose?
So from what I understand, yes, it was originally supposed to be set up in such a way that you were not supposed to have, like, it was supposed to be where the people of the government, like, worked. It was not supposed to be this big residential place that it's become, and they didn't want it to have influence as being, if people did live here, that just because it was the nation's capital didn't give you somehow, God, this is not, I cannot get this thing right, that it was not supposed to give you extra, like, voting power and sway just because you happened to live in this area or something like that, that it was supposed to be, you know, strictly for governmental, you know, purposes.
So when I Googled it, the like TLDR Google answer that it shows you at the top of the page before you actually click on any links or anything, it says, on September 9th, 1791, the 3 commissioners overseeing the Capitol's construction named the city in honor of President Washington. The federal district was named Columbia, which was a poetic name for the United States commonly used at that time.
Oh. Weird.
So apparently we referred to the United States because there wasn't that many states in 1791 at that point. Apparently we referred to it as Columbia.
Wait, why is this 2 and this 3?
That's what I was talking about. I was talking about that 3 and that 2. That's what I've been talking about this whole time.
This whole thing.
And you've been over here in this corner this whole time after I said this 3 and this 2. You went to that corner over there.
Because this corner was wrong. But now this is symmetrical. Well, except for, actually it's not, because this goes 2 out here, and this one should go 2 out here. But even that, I don't know how that's going to end up fixing this part. 2, 1, 2. I have no idea how this is supposed to fix this being wrong.
Huh. It says that it's a separate federal district under exclusive jurisdiction of Congress, and the district is therefore not part of any state.
Wait, under exclusive jurisdiction of Congress?
Yeah.
So Congress makes all of my laws in D.C.?
That's what this says.
I didn't know that, if that is true.
It said the sign of the Resistance Act on July 16th, 1790 approved the creation of a capital district located along the Potomac River on the country's east coast. The U.S. Constitution provided for a federal district under the exclusive jurisdiction of Congress, and the district is therefore not part of any state.
I didn't know it had anything to do with control by Congress.
That's what it says. I mean, I'm just starting reading, so this may have changed at some point, or who knows what. But it doesn't sound like it did, because you're always bitching about your taxation, not representation. Yep. I guess all of Congress represents you. States of Maryland and Virginia each donated
all
land.
Of Congress represents America.
That's true.
I mean, so that's a bullshit argument.
But there's also the state level with state representation and state laws and all that. You don't get none of that.
We have state laws or district laws.
Well, that's true, because like you legalize marijuana and stuff. So it feels like this kind of changed at some point. You know what? I don't think anyone's supposed to live there. I didn't realize how fucking tiny it is. Look at it on the map.
Yeah, it was never intended to be a place where people lived. It really should just be part of Maryland.
Yeah, the states of Maryland and Virginia each donated land to form the federal district, which included the pre-existing settlements of Georgetown and Alexandria. Named after President George Washington, the city of Washington was founded in 1791 to serve as the new national capital.
Virginia gave some piece of it?
Yeah.
I mean, it is right across the border from Virginia as well, but it's landlocked to Maryland. It is not landlocked to Virginia.
Maybe Maryland had a little bit of land that was... They're like, here, take this. We're going to get to it anyway.
Take this. We don't like it.
The city of Washington was founded in 1791 to serve as the new national capital. In 1846, Congress returned the land originally ceded by Virginia. So Virginia got their land back in 1846.
Okay, so that makes sense. On the whole landlocked thing I was just discussing.
Yeah. In 1871, it created a single municipal government for the remaining portion of the district.
Oh, so the DC has its own government, which yes, it does. So is Congress no longer controlling it?
I guess not, and that's ever since 1871. For the remaining portion of because the part they didn't give back to Virginia. Yeah. So yeah, in 1871, you got your own government basically.
But so now we really do again have taxation without representation.
Right.
Like officially.
Right. Wait, hold on. A locally elected mayor and a 13-member council. Huh?
We do have a mayor.
Yeah. Locally elected mayor and a 13-member council have governed the district since 1973. However, Congress maintains supreme authority over the city and may overturn local laws. DC residents elect a non-voting at-large congressional delegate to the House of Representatives, but the district has no representation in the Senate. The district receives 3 electoral votes in presidential elections. That's a lot for how tiny you are.
Yeah. I think isn't it population based?
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, because your population was 700,000. When did that say that census was? As of 2017, you have 700,000 people living there. God damn, that's a lot of people in that little tiny little area.
Hell yeah, it is.
Today's history
by the
lesson
23rd Amendment. Brought to you by.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now I understand why it's called the District of Columbia, because that's what we were referring to of basically America at the time was Columbia. Okay.
So on to what this was actually about.
Yeah. Right.
Which was the DC renters laws. So DC renters laws are extremely renter friendly. Extremely renter friendly. And if you know the DC renters laws, you can get away with a lot of shit. When I first moved here, I unfortunately did not know DC's renters laws at all and ended up getting fucked over by people who I lived with. Such as, like, I literally had the first place that I got, a woman who we rented from, I stayed there for 3 years. She was really nice and everything. It was a $3,000 security deposit. Throwing eggs at me. It was a $3,000 security deposit.
That's insane. $3,000 security deposit.
$3,000 and some odd dollars a month in rent. So
what?
Yeah, it was a 3-bedroom. Oh shit, this is one over. 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house.
That's so expensive. That's insane.
Yep. But so when we moved in, it literally said, and this is what just baffled me. It said right in the lease, like she wrote it in there, to dump Drano down the drain about once a month, because there was old pipes and they would get clogged up, and you would need to like do that just to maintain, it to continue working appropriately. Okay, no problem. We can do that. We understand there's old pipes, no big deal. So we did that appropriately, like we were supposed to. And 3 years later, when I moved out, she kept $2,500 of our $3,000 security deposit with then you have to give you like this itemized reason of why they're keeping things. And one of them was that because the drains were continually being clogged.
What?
Yeah, it was like, she had to call in a plumber because the drains were clogging. And I didn't know any better than to even try to fight it. I just figured that, okay, that's the way that they fuck you over in DC when you move out of a place. I didn't know about the DC renters laws, but there's like so much stuff that you can, I can't even say get away with. There is stuff you could get away with, but there's a lot of things that are just very heavy in protecting of renters. So this guy that you're dealing with, it would have, even without paying rent, be very difficult to actually evict somebody who doesn't pay rent.
Really?
Yeah, it takes a very long time to evict somebody who doesn't pay rent.
So, I mean, one of the things I found out in all this is, he told her not to come on his property anymore, and I was like, "What the fuck does he mean his property? It's our property. It's our property. Like, we own this. It's ours." But apparently, since he's a month-to-month renter and there's no written lease for the month-to-month renting, he could technically tell us to leave, and we're trespassing if we don't, even though we own it. Like, that doesn't seem right to me. I feel like if I own this, I own this. Like, you can't make me leave.
Yeah, it definitely seems strange that somebody by renting somehow owns your property and you're no longer given rights to your property. But at the same time, I mean, would you ever rent a place if the landlord could just come in onto your property, the property you were renting, anytime they felt necessary, so you had zero privacy?
Yeah, no, there should have been a lease agreement. I mean, that's our own stupidity for not, because she rents other properties for her dad, and they all have lease agreements, and so we should have had him sign a lease agreement, that one even, immediately upon the death of my aunt. You know, it's like, all right, there's new landowners, and this is the lease, and if you don't like it, then leave. But again, I don't think they wanted to deal with having to find, because it's me, her, and another cousin, and he doesn't live anywhere around here, but it's her brother. So I mean, I'm kind of outnumbered on the decision making. We haven't had any arguments or anything like that. None of us want to sell it or anything like that. We just want to rent it and keep it in the family, and that's basically the plan forever. And we formed an LLC and put everything in that so that we're, you know, less liable and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, I just at this point, I want to get him out and get a new tenant in with an actual lease. So that things like this can be enforced, because you can put in the lease that, you know, we could inspect your property once a month if we'd like, with 24 hours notice and all those sort of things, if you so desire, which I mean, I want in a future lease. But yeah, it was just kind of blew my mind that I mean, how do you serve an eviction notice? You can't put a notice on the house if he's telling you to leave, sort of thing. Watching you build this, you place a block, you break the block. You place the block, you break the block.
Well, it's because these stupid stair blocks, when you place them down, they don't do the right wrap that I want them to do.
Yeah, but they will once you place all of them.
No, they don't.
It'll adjust itself, won't it?
No, they don't. They suck. God damn it, this is still not even right.
Well, we've rambled for 31 minutes here on accident. I didn't even know. I didn't even realize.
Because today we learned.
Yeah, we did learn about the District of Columbia.
Yep. The district it's important learnings, kids. Learn about your country, the capital of your country. Ignore the fact that I live here and don't know these things. Just ignore that.
I'm pretty sure we've all been told this at some point in our life, but it's not the kind of thing that comes up on the day-to-day basis. Like, all right, today I need to talk about the District of Columbia, so I need to make sure I can tell you exactly how it came to be. I'm sure I had to put that on a test at some point in my life, though, and know why, but I don't remember it no more.
And I'm sure I failed that civics test, because civics is like a fake class.
Well, anyways, we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.